How's it going, YouTube? To bring you guys another finals match, and today it is the first finals match of the BT9 format. It'll be my opponent on the left playing the Death X or the Dex X Antibody list that he put together, and then I on the right will be playing the fan favorite deck Beelstar, mainly because I did not have the cards to run any of the other decks. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the gameplay. So here starting off, I win the die roll, so I have to go first. Not really the worst thing with Beelstar nowadays, because it's not actually too hard to lower the amount of cost that you have to digivolve back in Raising, especially now when you have tamers and stuff you can play that work out with the deck. I don't mind going first or second, although second is something I normally prefer. So here we do go ahead, we digivolve up into the scatter mode. Our opponent goes ahead, digivolves Chumon, and then plays down the Ryutamon to search. Passing turn back over to me. Here I swing in with my Eismon, and of course that little bugger has jamming, so he does live, and then we follow it up by just passing turn with another Eismon. Don't want to give too much memory, and it's nice to have two Eismon on field. That way if he does get rid of one, I do not have to worry about, or I can get extra benefit, I should say, for taking out multiple of my Eismon. So here they go ahead, digivolve up into the Darugomon, gaining a little bit of memory, and unfortunately for me, and for him I should say, swings over my scatter mode. While it would be nice to have the scatter mode on the field, but they do have to answer it. Since none of my scatter modes are dying, they have to constantly answer it, and without having an easy access into something like Dex Darugomon, they aren't going to be able to just pop that without any without having to commit a swing to it. So here we go ahead and just hard play a Chumon, choking me to 1 memory. I'll digivolve the Gabumon back in Raising, kind of think about what I want to do here. So we just swing in with the scatter mode, getting a check. Of course it is hitting a Coda, so they will get a little bit of search. The Eismon do be having jamming, and they do hit the Dorumon off of the search. So here we'll go ahead, digivolve a Gabumon X Antibody back in Raising. Even though he is blue, he just has to digivolve on top of a Gabumon for his little black box effect, and this is an easy way to turn on something like Kakaida's Breath. You're almost never digivolving into this guy on the field, so you don't whiff a search or anything like that, but it's good to have in Raising just for the extra little benefit of being able to swing in and get that little extra draw power active from something like the Gabumon, and as well as the Demi-Meramon. So here they go ahead and swing in. After they digivolve into the Dorumon Raising, they swing in with a Ryutamon, checking a Beelstarmon, which will take down the Ryutamon, but they just replace it again with another Ryutamon, taking a Dorumon off of the search. Looks like they're kind of struggling here to meet their top end, but at the same time, I don't really have anything else going for me other than the Eismon, which, if left unchecked, will keep on getting me checks, and will also net me plenty of draws to power the deck so that I can play my Beelstars for cheaper. Here you will see, again, they have to commit the Dex Darugomon to take out the Eismon, so I don't just continuously get added benefit. And here we draw 3 cards and do, in fact, get to discard 2 more 7-cost options. So now we have 6 in trash, so now our Beelstars are 6 cost, which is pretty solid. And then they swing it with the Chumon, does in fact live, but I do hit the Gewalt Schwarmer. So here at this point, my opponent's trying to decide if we're going to go ahead and commit something to the board that might get Gewalt Schwarmered, or we're going to commit in Raising. They did ask me a question at this point, asking about exactly how Decoy would work, and I did let them know that if they do digivolve the Ryutamon into a Decoy, that the Ryutamon will be able to stop the deletion of one of the Digimon, but it won't be able to clear the whole, or it won't be able to keep the whole board. So since that's not really worth the time, they go ahead and just digivolve the Dorugomon back in Raising. So here we promote up the Gabumon, swinging with the Eismon in the hopes that he dies, so I get a little bit of draw power, but of course he has jamming. He hits Death X Evolution, which is just basically nothing. It adds to hand, and then I swing in with the Gabumon. This time the Gabumon does in fact die, which does net me at least 2 discards and a couple of draws. Here you'll see me discard a couple of 7-cost options, along with the Gewalt Schwarmer. Here I'm trying to count and see what we have going on. I believe at this point I have a Death Xmon, which I'll probably refer to as Dexmon most of the time if I slip up, and I also have a Beelstarmon. But at this point, the Death Xmon would pass them to a little bit more memory, so I just go ahead and use Beelstarmon for 4. We go ahead and use the Gewalt Schwarmer as expected, clearing the board. This does fill some more dexes in his trash for something like his Dex Dorugoromon, but since he's been having trouble getting up to his level 5s, I really wasn't as worried about it, and even then, I am in a pretty good spot. Here I have a Beelstarmon on field. He does have 1 check in back. Here, he says what he's going to do, but then accidentally plays the wrong card, so we let him take it back, play down the Cool Boy so that he can get a little bit of search off, so that way he can get a little bit of advantage here when he goes into the Dorugoromon, or the Dex Dorugomon. As I stated, he did state that Cool Boy was what he was going to do, and then played the wrong card first. No harm, no foul. Even though it is a finals match, it is still a locals. We are still buds around here. So after digivolving into the Dex Darugumon, they will go ahead, gain the memory, and then here eventually they're going to go ahead and suspend the Cool Boy, gaining another memory off of the Cool Boy effect and drawing another card. Now off of this draw here, it looks like they do in fact get to the level 6 that they have, or the level 5 that they need, as the Dex Doru Greymon. Sorry, a lot of Dexes, a lot of Dorus, mixing my words up. Here they slot in the X Antibody, so they get another little bit of draw and a little bit of memory, so they can digivolve into the Dex Doru Greymon without passing turn, go ahead and trashing something so they can put more X Antibody stuff in the trash in case they draw into something that they need. Here they go ahead, swing in with the Dex Doru Greymon, hitting a Calling from the Darkness, which isn't really the best because I do have a Nailbone and a Ginkaku Promote in hand, but I can't really play her, I think, for any less than 3 or 4. So as long as they choke me to a decent amount, I can't just end the game with another Beelstar Mon. At this point, my opponent's just trying to think about what they want to do, not really have anything else better to do. They go ahead and hard slam down a Dorumon so they can go ahead, trash another Dex from hand, drawing 2 cards. Here, I'll go ahead, digivolve back in the Raising. I'll go ahead, swing in with the Beelstar Mon. As I mentioned earlier, I did have a Death X-Mon in hand, so we're just going to digivolve into the big bad boy himself. Even though he's playing the Dex deck, I in fact am using Dex as well in my list. That way I can digivolve down his level 5 into a level 4 and then delete it with Dex's effect. At this point, I have a body back in Raising if he doesn't have any way to deal with this, and knowing that he has a mixture of purple and black, if he haven't seen any other removal, there's not really much he can do, so he just goes ahead and scoops it up, and we go into game 2. So on into game 2, my opponent does opt to go first, which I found kind of interesting because Beelstarmon does in fact like going second, but at the same time it can work going first sometimes too, because you can just set up something like a scatter mode, and without being able to set up a blocker or something, then that's just free advantage for me. So here we go ahead, we draw into the Gazimon. I don't know if I had a rookie in hand at this point. Hand was kind of awkward if I remember, and then we go ahead and digivolve into a scatter mode, going to 1, and then drawing into the regular Gazimon. Never seeing both of them in hand is very unfortunate, but we just hard slam that down so we can't gain any extra memory if he were to have something like a Dorugumon into a Dex Darugumon. Here, he just decides to go ahead, swing in with the Dorumon. It does in fact live, but it sets me up with a Kyoshiro. Kyoshiro being a memory tamer and a blue source, which is just pretty solid for the deck. He does net me a little bit of draw off my level 5 or higher swings, and I have 7 or less cards in hand, but I don't really think that ever comes up in this match. And then here they'll just go ahead, play down another Searcher, looking on top, grabbing another draw, the new Dorugumon or the new Dorumon, and then passing turn to me at 3. So here I'm going to go ahead and play it a little safe. We're going to use Calling, just grabbing back the Gazi X so we can get a little bit of cycle off of the scatter mode, and I believe it is a Demi-Meramon underneath. Not going to risk it just dying to security or swinging in, mainly because I really want this Gazi X. So I'm able to go ahead and get it back so that I can just mill 3. Even though my mills weren't the best, it is nice to have the Promote and Trash. And we're able to go ahead and digivolve into the Doberman. He will in fact block the Doberman, which isn't too bad, but here you'll see me mill 3 cards, one of which is a level or a 7 cost option and a Dex. Here, my hand is trash, to be honest with you, so I just hard slam down a Beelstarmon, passing him to 8 memory. As I said, very bad hand, having 4 in trash, it just plays it for 8, but I am able to go ahead and capitalize as best as I can. He had a bunch of low levels on the field, so we were able to just go ahead and drop down the Gewalt Schwarmer. In case I didn't mention it, we are able to get the Dex back because of the Doberman effect. It is effectively in the trash for Doberman's effect. It is not revealed, it is trashed, so we are able to get it back that way. So here we're playing a wild game of Digimon. My opponent, in fact, just hard slams down a Dex. It doesn't do much, but if I don't do anything, then this Beelstarmon just dies at the end of my turn. And I guess that's really all he has. It looks like there you can see in his hand he has a bunch of X antibodies themselves. We swing in with the Beelstarmon. It does in fact live to a Dorumon. Here I'm kind of looking at what I have in trash. I can't remember if I have another Calling in hand is kind of what I'm bouncing back and forth about doing, or if I want to go ahead and like hard slam something like a Nailbone, which I also have in hand, which would put him at 1, but at the same time with the Dex on field, it's not really the best thing in the world. So here just kind of going back and forth on what I have in hand. Kyoshiro didn't really draw me a card at this point. I believe I had 7 cards in hand, so we're not really able to get any advantage from that. So we'll go ahead and use the Calling on the Beelstar, grabbing back a Gabumon and the Beelstar. That way we can just follow up plays on the following turn. And here we just digivolve Gabu and back. We digivolve into the Gabu X Antibody so we can get a little bit more cycle. Don't really need the blue source. And then we just drop down another Beelstar. Luckily having the Happy Bullet Shower in trash is able to go ahead and deal with the Death X-Mon. So at this point, even though we both passed memory significantly high to each other, I was able to stabilize a little bit better just because I had access to stuff like Death Exmon. I had access to Calling from Darkness and stuff like that, showing you how powerful Calling from Darkness is, not even to just grab back multiple Beelstar mons, but sometimes just grabbing that rookie is all you need. So here they raise up, they Digivolve into the Darugamon, slotting in the X Antibody. I believe they just slot in the X Antibody so they can gain a little bit of memory. As we mentioned earlier, when they just hard slam down their Death Exmon, they don't really have anything that they can go into. So here they just go ahead, play a Coda so they can hopefully get a little bit of search, maybe find something off the top, reaching for, hitting a Dex Darugamon. Unfortunately there you see that I believe that was a Dex Greymon goes down, which is not really what they want to have go. So with Kyoshiro, I'll go to 3. I'll go ahead, raise up Gabumon X Antibody, swinging with the Beelstarmon, unfortunately hitting 8 X Antibody, but not knowing that my opponent had another 2 or 3 in hand makes it a little bit funny that I hit another one out. This does gain him a little bit of memory, and then we swing with the Gabumon just to get a little bit more cycle, pitching some stuff like the Cocytus Breath, more 7-cost options for him, trying to make Beelstar as cheap as possible. And he knows I have the Death Exmon, which is kind of an interesting play because at this point I could probably just Digivolve into the Death Exmon, which is what I'm going to go ahead and do and clear the board. So there you see my opponent just, when you miss the fact that a Death X is in hand or you don't know it, now at this point he did know it, but missing, not remembering that it was back there really does hamper down the momentum, because if he would have not Digivolved the Darugamon in or if we would not raise the Darugamon, I should say, he might have been able to build that stack. You see he does there have the Dex, or the Darugamon, Greymon in hand. Here he'll go ahead, start Digivolving back into the back, hard Digivolving into the Dex Darugamon, which is unfortunate, but then he is able to go ahead, Digivolve into the Greymon, just the Greymon, and then passing me over to 3 memory. Here, we'll go ahead, Digivolve back in, raising to the Psychmon, swing in with the Death Exmon. We will hit another Death X evolution in security, so Dexmon does live to fight another day, although unless he hits specifically like another Dexmon, there's not really much that is going to take down this Dex in trash or in security. So we just Digivolve a Scatter Mode and back, and then hard play another Scatter Mode. That way, if he has something like a Dex or Greymon, he will have to go ahead and delete the Scatter Mode. That way I can go ahead and get a little bit more draw and a little bit more discard so that I can set up more Beelstarmon plays. So here my opponent will have to go ahead and promote up the Dex Darugamon. Unfortunately for him, he does not have any protections, or it's not Dex Darugamon, the Greymon. He doesn't have any protection effects because he has to slot something underneath via his own effect, but he will go ahead slot in the X Antibody so that he can get a little bit of draw off of the Dorymon. Here you see him looking back and forth, and no matter what he does, this Greymon is deleted unless he can get rid of the Death Exmon at the end of this attack, or by the end of his turn, or else it's just going to go ahead and delete his lowest level Digimon. So here we'll go ahead, he'll swing in the Greymon into the Death Exmon, basically just so that he can get the on deletion effect of the Dex Dorugormon. Like I said earlier, he was pretty far behind here. It's several options in hand that put him far behind. Here he will go ahead and show, we're just confirming that he has enough Dexes in trash or undeads, and here in fact he does. He has 6, and he will just go ahead and play out the Death Exmon. This will go ahead, Digivolve the Death Exmon, deleting my Scatter Mode, and then I will get a bunch of draws and discards. Now at this point, unless something comes out of security and stops me, I will go ahead just swing in with the Beelstarmon. Nothing does stop. I do die to the security check, but nothing is there to stop the Scatter Mode from swinging for game. And there you have it, everyone. That is going to be the finals. Beelstarmon, piloted by myself, will go ahead and take the first finals for our BT9 format. The deck is just very strong, and I also happen to only have the cards to build Beelstarmon as opposed to some of the other new decks. So, but with all that being said, if you guys did enjoy the content, be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell if you want to see when this content goes live, and leave any comments down below that you guys might have any questions or queries to ask me. Thank you guys again for watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.